kind of a broadcast. I'm happy that y'all both came in.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed that y'all, I didn't even know y'all were a couple, which is
I know, that's where you're, so now you know.
No. Power couple.
Okay, that's right. Power couples, right. Living Trinity frequency, sacred union. Okay, we're live on all platforms. Welcome everybody on the live and the replay. We got a very special show to end the day with. Good friends of mine who I didn't know were married are together. And and then I found out
informally.
She's my wife star.
We're not really married, but we are.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it by.
I call her my wife star.
And he's my husband.
Husband.
So we have that going for us.
All right, I'm going to play the intro real quick. It's 1 minute 19 seconds, so people can have time to come in. Looks like they're filling up pretty good. We got 37 and counting. We'll be right back. How's it going, everybody? I'm really honored to have LightStar and StandwithBear with us today. We're going to get into a little of the history and a few other things. I just want to make a quick announcement. If you haven't been over to SoulogyNetwork.com, we've been live since the 11th, and we're going to be adding a lot of stuff to it, but it's a pretty cool interactive site if you want to check it out. And check out our store. Get you some Soulogy swag. And just take a look around. And you're going to see more and more added to it. And I also want to thank everybody for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every single day, because this is a free community service. The website will retain that as well, and will always be free, free energy, so that we can keep this frequency going and build this 5D reality and bring this heaven to earth through the portals that we are. So, I've got a soft spot in my journey for Sedona. I first went over there in late 2018. Morgan and I had a sacred union ceremony, and she had to go back to Australia, and it was kind of like, okay, go make it happen. My beloved, go make it happen. Find us a place to live, and And I got called to Sedona. It was really strange. I got called to Sedona. I was in New Jersey, and she'd been gone, and I didn't, I was living out of a suitcase and didn't have any resources or anything. And then I was just told, you need to go to Sedona. And I was like, well, how am I going to go to Sedona? And they just, go buy a ticket. And I had $12 left over. I went to Sedona, and I was able to go to cover some conferences spontaneously. And so I met StandwithBear at one of the conferences that Tolik put on. And then I went back through Sedona a few times. I think I saw you again. I saw StandwithBear again. And then I do a show with LightStar, who everybody was telling me, you need to do a show with LightStar. I'm like, hey. And then I'm talking to her. She's like, I'm in Sedona. I'm like, you're in Sedona? Yeah. And I'm partnered up with StandwithBear. I'm like, what? So, yeah, it's a small world. What was amazing, though, and by the way, welcome to SoulSpeaks 5D. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, Todd, that intro that you had, where did you get that?
So I'm trying to get in touch with the guy. A lot of people have asked me that. when I was making a lot of music, what I call soul speaks, which is not rapping or singing, it's in the middle. I would always look for instrumentals, and I heard that one. And actually, what that one is, it's a gentleman who does guitar covers in his own way, and it's a Chet Faker song, but it doesn't sound anything like the riff. It doesn't sound like the song, but it's an incredible guitar riff. Anyway, I sent him an email because I'd like, as we progress, and part of the Soulogy Network download has been that we're on the front end of a team building 5D commerce frequency, which is based on gifting the honor system and paying it forward. So I'm trying to get in touch with him, because once we get a little further down the road and the website expands and we have the type of traffic that I know we will, there'll be abundance, and that abundance will be disseminated to the contributors to the channel, to the channels, and to the network. And that tune is going to be with Soulogy till the end of time. So he'll get like 1% of whatever comes in the door for the rest of his life.
As a rock musician,
That's very cool.
lead vocalist as a rock musician since I was in 8th grade. When I heard that song, I hear the drums coming in. I hear a guitar. I even started getting lyrics coming through my head.
Yeah.
And even native flute over the top of it. There's so much I can produce and do with that song.
Well, and I made I made probably maybe 10 musical compositions. I want to say that I produced them with video production software, about 4 or 5 of them, and the other 4 or 5 we just did one take, because my soul sister, she played the Native American flute, and I love to put on a beat, got the flute get going, and then start rapping.
Let me at it.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, and that's what I was just saying. I wish we would have had some time. Next time I come over there, we'll have to do a little jam.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was like kicking myself when I saw you that day, because I was on my way out of town almost, and I was like, man, we could have made some music over at Jade's place. But anyway, yeah. Angela says, beautiful. You should let him play with it, Todd. Yeah, I'll send you the MP3.
You'd be surprised what I can do with it.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I downloaded a bunch of instrumentals. This would be back in the original studio. So this is back in like 2015, 2016. And one day, this lady, I was in a group with like 54 people in it, and I'm in like 700 groups. People put me in it over the years, but I was in this group because I was actually a bit active in it. It was pretty high vibrational people. So this lady, I would share my post in there, my music, and so she hits me up. She says, "I want to do one of those," and I said, "Okay, just speak into the phone." Because that's all she had. Send me the audio and I'll find something.
Awesome.
And I'm telling you, I'll play it at the end of the show. She actually freestyled this whole thing. And as soon as I heard it, I said, oh, I know what tune to go with. So I put it on there. We put some images together. And I remember playing it for her, man. She just started bawling. It was just one of those moments which we're all coming into more and more frequently, which are these spontaneous, intuitive, creative moments that are that really, to me, are representative of what we're becoming and what we are, so music is my thing, man. I love music.
Improv is always the most powerful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, it really, really is. And that, to me, that whole field of energy, is indicative of the sacred sexual vibration. It's a creative life force, chi, kundalini. And I can remember many times making, putting productions together, and some weird stuff would happen. I would do a rap, and the last word would end on the last note, and I'm like, how does that happen? You can't make this stuff up. But this is the type of energy that I think you guys represent, and so many people do. When we were in Sedona this last time, we were foretold that you will meet up with a specific number of couples that carry the same or similar frequency that you guys do. Mm-hmm. You will also meet some androgynous beings that carry the same, and this all came through. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed about it is that these energies, be they a couple or an individual, they have a certain spontaneous spark to them. Like there's just this creative aspect that's within the container, let's say, of that sacred sexual vibration. And we're going to do a show tomorrow on aligning and embodying sacred sexuality, which is far beyond the physical 3D sex. It's beyond, way beyond sex, way beyond intimacy. And I know you guys are familiar with that. It's just a way of life. It's a lifestyle, you know. It's and so that's why I think it's important to get couples like you on, because especially in your case, because most of the people I've met, I mean, Morgan and I have been together a little over 5 years, connected. All right, we've only been in the flesh since the middle of 2017, and we had almost a year apart during that time. So, but you guys have a really interesting story that we got into at the end of LightStar's show when I started, you know, she said she was hooked up with you. And I'm like, you're kidding. I know him. And she started telling me that you guys met in Sedona and that you've been together, I want to say 10 years, give or take.
Yeah, it'll be 10 years in March of 2021 when I figured it out. It's actually
Is that right?
That's going to be our 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
Goes by like that.
That's Soulogy's anniversary too, March the 10th.
Ours is March 1st, right?
Which is also March 1st. That's
March 1st.
That's my oldest child's birthday.
Yeah.
See, all of these synchronicities.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, and you know what? And they really add up when you line them all up together.
Yeah.
But you know, when I was talking to you, LightStar, and I was like, wait a minute. Now I've been to Sedona. Now at the time, it had only been 5 times. I hadn't gone on the last trip. This last trip was the smoothest trip I had. Like I didn't have any issues. My car blew up, but I didn't get freaked out, and it got fixed, and we got home. And you know, but the previous 5 times I'd been to Sedona, I had what, you know, you could say successes in terms of spontaneous collaborations and just different things. But I also had a boatload of dimensional and interdimensional experiences, activations, downloads.
Welcome to Sedona.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, when I'm talking to her, I'm thinking, wait a minute, you guys actually have navigated the ascension for 10 years. And that's a feat in itself. Yes. And then to be doing it in Sedona, I'm like, oh my God, Morgan, we got to get them. We got to get them on.
To last here, to be here in Sedona for more than a couple of years is already a feat. If you stay here long, you know, past a couple of years. Some people say only a year, but I'd say just a few years. That's a feat. And then to have an actual relationship here for this long, definitely
it's crazy.
It's kind of surprising sometimes, because we were like, oh my gosh, 10 years.
Yeah, because Sedona's famous for if you're not ready for her energy, she will spin cycle you out so fast.
Yeah.
And you have to wait at least a couple
not
years.
Me.
Not you, but I mean, like, you know, people that come here.
Sedona, it's herself.
If they're not ready for the energy, it'll spin them out really quick.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you have to be able to be in the washing machine when you and in the dryer.
Oh, she'll put you through a hazing period. Like put all your fears right in front of your face. Like it's like a test, like a rite of passage kind of thing. Because this is a very, very sacred place, city of light.
Yeah, constant Jedi training here all the time. So we're in it all the time. And then to have our own, you know, relationship come together and, you know, try to figure all that stuff out along with your own ascension and your own, you know, spiritual progressions, and everybody's going through stuff and releasing. It's quite it's and interesting.
There's an actual story behind it with me and LightStar. I mean, we've been together quite a few different lifetimes, but we're ordained to be together since we're 8 years old. And I'm proof of that, of her experience and my experience combined, and the two stories completely match. Like literally, we were like, when I was taken on the vessel when I was like 8 years old, they showed me my future mate who I'd be with. And I had no clue about that until I got here. And then when I got here, everything just went right into place.
So what was that like?
A lot of time to put all this together, you know?
Yeah.
So
what that's fascinating. What was that like? Where did it happen? How did it happen?
We were just roommates for like 5 weeks.
Y'all were roommates.
First, yeah, he was going to be moving to England.
I was going to go to England because I'm bouncing out of this place. Y'all are crazy, and I'm bouncing. And so I just ended up being roommates, and we became best friends. And one day she was at an event. I was here at the house, and she walked in. I was coming this way, and then we looked at each other, and it's like they just removed the veil. Wow. And let us see everything that we were to each other. And she's like, "You want to watch a movie? Maybe have some popcorn?" I go, "Yeah." And then it just, and what's really interesting, most people have the dynamic of the courtship, the dating, the chocolates, the flowers. We didn't do any of that. We just went bam, bam into relationship like an old shoe. Yeah. Like I told her once, I said, you know, technically in that lifetime I died, so we're still married. Okay. So it's just been like that from the beginning. And
I mean, I think at first I didn't really want a roommate. And so, but I knew that since he a roundabout way that happened to find out, but I thought he was going to be leaving in like 2 months. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it as a test out, you know, for 2 months, because he's going to be going.
Now, were y'all the only ones in the house? I mean, were y'all the only ones in the
just us?
Okay.
Yeah. So once he came in, and it was like 2 months, but then that got delayed after 2 months, and he wasn't going to go to England. And so then it was like, okay, well, I guess you're going to be here. So then we just started to get into a friendship, and we would do the throw paper airplanes across the room, you know, just kind of fun. Mm-hmm. It was always just kind of fun and lighthearted. But at the time he was dating somebody else. He was dating this girl here. So it was like, that's fine. He was over at her house all the time. So I had more space, you know. I was like, yay, this is awesome. Great roommate situation. But then it did change. It was literally seemed like it was one night that unveiling happened. And the way that it was very bizarre, because when it was sort of unveiled to us was we both were, well, actually I started to speak a language that
Two
was
pieces
coming
of
out.
Puzzles that were missing for us.
It was like
we found them.
This native language started coming out. I mean, I was already doing light language kind of, but not like I had been. But at this time it started to come out. And then I told him the story that I had always had about a past life, that I remembered being native. And I remembered I had a very strong connection with an old boyfriend of mine in this lifetime. And he and I were in that life together as well. But he was only there to help me take care of my child. Yeah. After my husband in that Native American life had died. Okay. So that was the setup there.
And before the revelation happened, I just was sitting there on the bed, just rubbing her stomach. I didn't know why. I just kept rubbing. And then everything just came together. All the pieces of the puzzles went of what it was.
So I started to speak this language. I started to tell him like the story. And before I even said anything about, you know, the child, it was like, oh my God, you were the father, you know, of this child. You were the one that I lost in that lifetime. And so it was really strange because we were both tearing up and crying. And it was just this really big surreal moment.
Was that the
remembrance? It's like we were just remembering.
And I remember it was like, my name was Natcha K, and my grandfather's name was White Eagle, and he was the shaman to the Iroquois Nation. And I became the youngest shaman at 19 years of age. And what a lot of people don't know, the Constitution of the United States was actually written on the basis of the Iroquois.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
7 nations.
And so what happened was, you know, the way that the Iroquois became such a great nation, they didn't like to fight. They were diplomatic people. So what they would do is like, I have a beautiful daughter, you have a beautiful son, let's hook them up. And then they became a part of the Iroquois, and it just kept expanding, and became this huge Iroquois empire. And they're very intelligent. Personally, I don't think they were of this world. But what happened was, one day the Bluecoats came, and they said they were taking us to the forts. It was much like Trail of Tears, because I remember being in the winter. And then the fort came in the road, and the women and children and elderly went this way, and the rest of us went this way. And we're like, why are we going this way? Oh, it's a shortcut. We didn't know. And so we're in this field, and I remember there was a wagon that pulled in, covered wagon, and I remember having the thought, oh, they're going to eat us. They're going to feed us finally. And then they whipped off the cover, and it was a Gatling gun, and
Wow.
they just and then mowed us all down. Well, I died that day. I didn't know my wife of 19, because she was a young chief's daughter, was pregnant. I didn't know that.
Wow.
I died. She wondered what the heck happened to her husband.
And I was pregnant, and I had the child in that lifetime, which was then taken on with my ex-boyfriend in this lifetime.
Right.
You know, who was actually
my best friend in that lifetime.
Yeah, there's a lot of linkage here.
So
and
it's like
kept going back.
It's crazy. It's like it's a novel.
And things literally, this could be like seriously.
It's a saga. It's a saga.
Because as the years had gone by, there's more pieces of this puzzle that have been put together. Like, I know we met somebody here at someone's wedding a couple years ago, and it was really like a synergistic moment too that put the piece together, because I was the daughter, a medicine woman in that lifetime of a chief of a different tribe.
Yeah.
And I was to be then hooked up with this guy in that life as he was the shaman of the other tribe.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was kind of this blend. And I remember it was
Lakota. And what's really General Thunder, we saw each other and just embraced. She knew I was her father. I knew that she was my daughter. It's boom, that quick. It's like when you know, right? Yeah. There's no second guessing. You just know. She knew with him. I knew with her. I mean, she teared up the first time she met him.
I instantly, I met him, and we were talking and everything, and it didn't hit me until the next day. I went on a walk, and as I was walking, I just burst out in tears and realized that he was my father, because I knew there was something there, and that it was so sad for me because I had to leave my family. You know, as the tribe then, I had to actually leave the family and go be with this other tribe, because that's just what you did, you know. But I missed my family. I missed my father and my mother and my, everything back there. So it was a very, very emotional time. So as I said, these pieces of this puzzle have just been going and going. And I feel like it literally should be a movie or something at some point.
And I've been told that my name is on the stone that wounded me, and it resonates when I hear that.
I think it's
I haven't looked at the names. I'm curious.
I think it's the story of many. Because many of us have lived in these Native American tribes, and it's like one small little story, but it emulates how this happened with so many people, and I think everybody could really relate
and
to
that. And even other lifetimes. I know when Morgan and I first came together in the physical, we had quite a few downloads. And I can remember having one session 3 or 4 days into it. It was kind of like, I think she said something to me like, "Why did you always leave?" And in that moment, all these things came to me, and I was like, "Oh, well," because I thought I wasn't good enough. But all the, and of course we've had other experiences where we were shown both on planet, off planet, off universe even. So yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And I look at your situation and I say, well, no wonder you met in Sedona in this incarnation, and you've done what you've done, because aside from what you do on an individual level, just the fact that you're holding, you're anchored in there with that divine union frequency says a lot. I mean, you were chosen, but you earned it.
I don't think that I would have. I think that for us to have met at the time that we met, like, I don't think it could have happened earlier, because I was in a corporate environment, wasn't really, I would say awakened. I'm always spiritually kind of awake anyway, since I was a child, but I wasn't really awakened to the starseed material. But then once I, did and started to get on my path, on my purpose of what I'm really here to do, instead of just, playing around in the corporate world and hiding, I guess is a better way of putting it, that when I finally did come out and say, okay, I'm doing this work, this is what I'm here to do. And so I think just, again, the life purpose, the journeys, then it opened up for us to kind of meet. So
yeah, because if we'd have met back then, Todd,
oh yeah,
there's no way she would have hooked up with this guy. Okay,
the crazy rocker.
Yeah, just no way.
Oh my God, he's a long-haired rocker from the
Yeah.
80s.
And I was not
White Snake, baby.
I wasn't really into the whole rocker thing, and I'm still really not. But I
That's back when I was good looking.
I appreciate it.
You're still handsome. Well, you know, one of the things that was a standout for me when at the end of the show that we did, LightStar, was we started talking about it, and I made a couple of jokes about how easy the path is for a couple, you know, when you meet, because not everybody, but there's a kind of a convoluted, multifaceted, illusionary perception of what twin flames are or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I made a joke and I said, oh yeah, that's just easy once you meet. And then you started talking about how you guys, but you were so real about it. And of course I knew him. So I already knew his auric field, you know, and I was like, so we don't really have to talk about that. That's what I'm saying, because the reason is because it's coming through right now. Like you can see, you can see the balance that you have, and that's not given to you.
No, I mean, there is a harmony. Well,
you have to earn that.
We're very, very different. I think I mentioned that
like,
before.
Here's her,
opposite day and night. I mean, we have certain things that are, you know, our values, things like that, I think are very much in alignment with what we value. But I think just because we're so different, we've had to jump over a lot of hurdles because of those differences.
Yeah, because she's crystalline
and
I'm
rainbow,
indigo.
Crystal rainbow.
I'm full on indigo. And whoever thought of that meeting, I'd like to have been a fly on the wall, because it's like we're the great experiment. Let's see what happens.
Well, we can relate to that because Morgan's obviously a high priestess angel and I'm a total wild ass. So they brought us together. But I can relate. I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, you can relate, because I know you guys know it takes takes so much patience with each other. I think is the biggest thing. Is I don't have a lot of patience, and I will admit that I'm not a super patient person. I mean, it might seem like I am, but I am not that patient with things, and I know that's something that he's not either. So I think that we've had to work out a lot of our, you know, just be patient with each other, because we have to learn to accept those differences and then see where where we blend as well, you know. So that's kind of, we had to learn a lot about each other and what triggers the other person.
Absolutely. Once we got through our triggers, and we would track those triggers back to what triggered us. Yeah, especially in my part. You know, a native way, they say when a woman and a man come together, a man's job as a native is to treat his woman with kindness as you would the earth. Native man's job is to protect her, to shield her from harm. A woman's role in a native relationship is to help the boy become the man. And she absolutely did that, because I still feel like I'm 19.
I still feel like that's not really happened. Totally.
Like last birthday, I was like, I can't be this old. I still play video games, for God's sake. So I was just like, it's such a, you know, the age thing is weird to me. I don't know how to, you know, not going into it gracefully. I'm going kicking, clawing, scratching, screaming, because I got things to do here. I don't got time to get this, you know, get old. I got stuff to do here. And so I'm trying to cram as much as possible in, the same as her, you know.
Yeah, we're all on this like fast track, just, you know, everything's speeding up and we have so much to do. And I think that, you know, just trying to blend it with what I'm doing, and then what he's doing, you know, with his own frequency, and then how we blend together, you know, with the frequency that blends together. And so I love that Angela says Peter Pan. So true. He is like, that's one of his lines. He always says, never forget the pan. So
never forget the pan,
always
because if you forget the pan, you become old, withered.
I am Peter Pan. I say it all the time. I am Peter Pan. I am a kid.
Definitely has that vibe as well. And I think we mentioned this before, but I really think it's true, is that one of the things that I think really helps us the most with triggers and things that set you off, because I know this happens with any couple. It doesn't matter if you're starseed or couple or not. It's going to happen where you're going to trigger each other. And one of the things that we have learned is that because I know his personality and I know that he likes like humor, and I know I grew up with humor also in my childhood as well. So when we can break the ice by, if we're in a well, butting heads and somebody can just whip out something so silly and stupid and funny that just breaks all of it and dissolves all of it. Okay.
I'm a voiceover actor, so I do a lot of different voices. A lot of voices in here. Okay. And like, for example, she found this new place here in Sedona called Karen's. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, the
Karen's. And she got like one of those breads, the ones that, you know, it looks like ancient, but it was hard as a rock. It was like, did you take this off the Last Supper table? I mean, did you come all the way from Jesus all this time? And now it's here. Like, I mean, you could kill somebody with that.
He's doing a whole like skit, I mean, of this. He'd be like, what is this? This is what it looks like at the time of Jesus. And you know, he just went on and on. But if we can do those kinds of things at a time when we're angry with each other, even, that's the best time to bring that out. I know it's hard sometimes, and it may not work for everybody if someone doesn't have
I think that would. I think the challenge would be to master that. I mean,
if you can do it, you have to be able to shift out of your own anger and your own stuff and just be like, okay, this is really stupid. How do we, you know, get out?
But that does negate the whole thing. I remember last year we were under, you know, this typical starseed pressure. We were living in Kauai, and we thought we were barely surviving, but we had, you know, it was working. And then we got called to the mainland. So we got to the mainland. We had to wait like 3 weeks for our car to get here, and it was just rush. Went to get the car, and I never forget this. I went and got the car at the port, came back to the hotel, and I was just imbalanced. And I remember opening the door, and I don't even know what I said. And she looked right at me and she goes, "Oh, that's some projection." I mean, but the way she said it, I just cracked up, and it's exactly what you're talking about. But I think that's a great tool. I think it's a challenge to master something like that, but it certainly can be done. You guys have proved it.
I think we're getting better. I wouldn't say we're perfect at it all the time, but if we can remember, either one of us, it takes so much of the edge off of the tension of everything. And most of our stuff is like about stupid things.
And she had to get used to my sense of humor, because I have very dry English cross between Monty Python, Eddie Murphy, and Chevy Chase sense of humor. And I'm always like doing these little skits like Jonathan Winters, just kind of going, because I think very quickly. So I'm like, it's like an ongoing skit, and she's almost peeing her pants at that the whole breath and say, "Christ, it's all away from Jesus," and she's so freaking hard.
But there's like so many. Tell me about this one's really funny. Okay, I have to throw myself under the bus here because it was really funny. The Ghostbusters thing. I mean, this is so funny. But
when we first got together, before she even knew my sense of humor, I had an app that I got on my phone that's like a ghost hunter kind of thing. And so like you could actually push it a certain way with your thumb to make it do what you want. So I was scanning the house, and it's just all real professional looking, and I'm scanning the house, and it's like like that. And all the places she hung out at, I would cause it to go, but wherever I was, it was nothing. And she's like, "What the hell?
What's wrong?
Why come all the ghosts are where I'm at?" And I'm like, "I don't know, babe. It's the weirdest thing." You know, and then she's sitting next to me on the massage table, and I went, "Oh my God, I feel like." And she jumps up. She's like,
"Oh my God!" I was like, "What's wrong? Why does it only around me, I was like freaking out until he told me. I mean, I wasn't laughing then, obviously, but after he told me what he did, I'm like, oh my God. So he's always playing practical jokes on me, and I have to get used to that. I mean, I was used to that because I have 2 older brothers, and I had an older brother who used to joke around with me, play jokes on me all the time. So I kind of got it.
And she hates when I do this. I'm very elven, okay, because I am that I am. And I'm very sneaky, very quiet. So like one day, like her room's here, mine's were across from each other like that. A lot of native couples have separate rooms. And
maybe because you
she's looking at me like this.
Maybe because you snore.
Well, he
probably
don't give Morgan any ideas.
So much in his dream time that I can't sleep.
Bear tribe, bear. Okay.
So I have to have sleep.
And so she leans into her closet to grab something, and I'm clear across the other side, right? And when she leaned in, I went, and I'm standing behind her, and she comes back out like this and goes, and I go, what you staring at? And she's like,
yeah, he plays ninja around the house. So it's kind of a fun, I mean, our life is very silly, fun.
It is.
And yet, obviously, the work we do is very serious, but we like to make things as light as possible because our world's already serious enough.
Yeah.
Our home is full of fae, elven, dragons,
angels,
and
galactics.
We got a lot of magical things going on here.
I'll say. And so, in case everybody doesn't know, and you just made reference to it, so I'm going to bring it up. So, LightStar, I mean, a lot of people know you, you know, from the virtual world, from the internet, but both of you are fixtures in Sedona. And StandwithBear is pretty much at every conference I've ever seen a flyer on. He's very much in demand. LightStar is very much in demand. You guys are not just anchoring this relationship frequency, you're anchoring what your gifts are individually as well. So you do stay busy. I know you're very serious and committed and devoted to what your purposes are.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever collaborate together?
Yes, we actually, well, we do sessions together. We have a session that we do that's together, and it's our co-creative, activational co-creative therapy session. And it's, so we do that together. We each have our own sessions that we do separately, but then we do have one where we come together and use our sort of synergistic, intuitive blending way that we do it. And so we do that. We will probably do some music together, and maybe in the future, who knows? I'm just starting to get into doing my own music, so that's kind of starting new for me.
She amazes me, like at every level.
And then we'll probably do stuff together.
I mean, literally, it's just mind blowing. Like one day she goes, I think I'm gonna make some jewelry. I'm like, well, you never made jewelry. She goes, I know. Whips out 20 pieces. I'm like, okay. And she goes, I think I'm gonna do some CDs, but you never did it. See, okay. Whips out a CD. And I put my little keyboards in here for her to fiddle around with. And she's created the most amazing music. It just, it's mind blowing. Vocals, she's doing the angelic tone.
Yeah.
Every bit as good as Constance Dimby or anybody else. I am so impressed with her. I'm just like, I can't keep up.
But I really, you know what? It's mostly, it's just because I'm a worker bee is what I do. I'm always working. So for me, it's just like, that's kind of the norm. And I felt like I didn't, I guess, get awakened early on. I mean, even though I was awakened, I wasn't on this path until I hit 40 something. Right. So I feel like I'm making up for all this time where I'm a product person, and I know I have all these products to create and, you know, so much time to do it in this lifetime, that I am kind of feel like I'm making up for lost time.
I mean, you know, she has a magnificent oracle deck that she created, and it's going worldwide. She got signed by Schiffer Publishing, and it just taken off.
And I've got oracle deck
and
number 2
they're so impressed
coming.
That they signed her up for deck 2.
Oracle
so
deck 2.
A new one
coming out in 2022. Because it takes a year for that. So I just turned in the materials, and that'll be out in hopefully late 2022.
And my new album will be out probably about 3 months. It's called That'll be new.
You guys are like a full court press, man. You guys are like 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting here and I'm going, I can't I mean, have you ever Stands with Bear, have you ever just pulled the flute out and started playing, and then all of a sudden LightStar goes into light language?
We have done that before, and she's also picked up a flute and played with me.
Yeah,
one day, she don't know this yet, but one day I'm gonna get her on one of my CDs because she's pretty good.
Well, I'm nowhere near him. Okay. But I actually, before I even met him, I mean, this is like 25 years ago. I actually was, I dated somebody who had a whole like flute musician or whatever. And he had a studio in his house. And I went over and had a date.
For me.
I had a date with him, and I was over there, and I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting." He goes, "Here, try it." And I went, "I never played the flute like that before." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like impressed. He's like, "Wow, is this the first time you play it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't played this." So I had already, but I don't play it like every day or on stage or anything. But so that's kind of fun. And but funny that you should mention what you said is because you're probably like the fourth person that's probably asked about that specific thing about having him play music and then having me do the light language in it. So that's where I think that probably in the future we will do some of that somehow, because I've been getting a lot of people asking about.
Well, I just, we have to trust our intuition. I just had this vision of him whipping out a flute right now and you doing some light language. I mean, improvisationally, I think it would be a pretty dynamic proposition.
Right when you said that, I looked at the clock. It says 4:44.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna lead the horse to water, but I can't make you drink.
Well, you might have to do a LightStar Stands with Bear Part 2.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Where is it? Flutes are. We don't even have them in the vicinity right here.
Yeah, it's in the other side of the house.
But I think we will do that in the future.
I can see that. I can see y'all doing that.
Yeah, it's just something that's just kind of.
I mean, if you look at if you just consider, Stands with Bear, your ability to play the flute, because I've heard a lot of flute players. I mean, and you are definitely at a mastery level, and the same goes for your light language. I mean, everybody that I talk to about LightStar talks about your multi-linguistic, universal, mystic light language.
And the thing is, he also he has many different languages. He's at least got, 3-4 of them?
More than that.
So a lot of them come out too. He has those as well. So some people do.
I'm like Syrian, so that's Lyrian and Syrian hybrid. And there's a whole story with that. But so because of that, I speak Syrian and Lyrian both, and elven. And
I was bringing in
lots of different stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, there probably will be times to do something where I speak and you speak, and then he's playing. So there's a lot of things on the plate. But I think before that, I had to sort of come into doing my own music just to get into that world, because it's not something I was really familiar with doing or ever played instrument or ever even played around with creating music that I recorded or any of that. So I don't know how much live I would be doing with my music, because it's mostly recorded that I create. But we'll see where it goes. I think that because we talked about this before, everybody is getting into something new or something different. We've all had that 9-month to 12-month pregnancy thing that we're birthing some new things in 2021. So that's, I think, going to be coming forth for many people.
I agree with that.
In the background, in the works right now, because I'm a composer of doing a series of CDs that doesn't have any flute on it, just compositions, just like Hans Zimmer, who I inspired to be like. And my stuff has been compared to his, and I'm like, wow, okay.
So you're doing this with an organ, electronic organ?
No, I use
it's like digital program software.
Yeah,
I got you.
What they are is like the little snippets of real live musicians, like studio musicians, whether it be guitar, bass, violin, orchestra, just little snippets, and I just know where stuff goes, and I just piece it together.
And you create some of your own, because he does.
Yeah, and I use the keyboards, and I create some of my own stuff too.
Yeah. That's something I wouldn't mind getting into. So, speaking about the third energy and the frequency that you carry in Sacred Union, there's been quite a bit of recent intel. Morgan and I have experienced it. We've talked to or connected with other people that have. And this would go back, say, over the last 10 days. Have you guys had any experiences or interludes over the past 10 days that might give you the impression that there's been a leveling up with this energy?
Big time. Yeah.
Was it sexy? I'm just kidding.
Well, it's always sexy when people are leveling up.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, have you in your 10 years or so together, has there been any seeming correlation between the frequencies that you represent, masculine and feminine, and the collective dance that's been going on with masculine and feminine in the last few years?
I think the dynamic, what we have learned from the beginning, as we went farther into our relationship, got deeper into it. I had a really bad Scot temper. You know, the Scot me comes out. I'm like, I swear, correct.
I.
So I had to learn to temper that, to quell that. You know, so one thing about this relationship, which is really, really powerful, we each learned from each other, and we each were enhanced from what we learned from each other. And once we got to the point of honoring the God and the goddess in each of us, then things became a lot smoother. I came into the relationship as the 80s rocker, you know, I mean, we first got together, I was like, 6 times a day is normal. She goes, no, it's not. I go, yes, it is. And apparently not. So yeah, there was a lot of bedlam back then, a lot of craziness. So I had to learn how to have a different dynamic, because the one thing about starborn relationships is there are things that are much more important than carnality.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that sucks. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I was on the same program you were.
Yeah.
And it was,
I think because we have been going through, you know, excess masculine energy for many centuries here. That's just been the way it's been. And I think that because we're trying to learn how to reintegrate the feminine energy in a positive way, but I'm in no way, shape like feminist, and you know, I don't go in that direction like overboard with it, but I just feel like we have lost some balance on the feminine because there's been people swinging to the other side so much dramatically that it's squashing the masculine and not really clearing it to have the masculine come out in its most exalted state.
Exactly.
That's what I feel is really where it's not quite clear.
And that's, I think that's one of the big anchoring occurrences for what you're talking about is in the intimacy. And I'm not talking about the traditional intimacy, the stereotypical intimacy that we think of, that these couples do. They're pulling in, and I see it in our relationship. I've watched it change. It changes every week. And there seems to be almost like she's leading, like, you know, if there is one of the two that has at least an idea or a glimpse of what it should look like, then she's going to have it. And then he'll pick it up shortly after. But
have you noticed when you, in the dynamic of your relationship, because I noticed this with a lot of starborn relationships that are really in sync with each other. It's like the symbiotic energy is created, and literally wherever you go, like if you're big crowds of people, like at an event or something, all eyes are on you two. It's like royalty just walked into the room and they're just like, you know, it's, I don't know what it is, but it's like that synchronicity we have as starborn, as a couple, power couple.
Yeah.
It just shines outward to every single buddy in the room, where they have no choice but to go like this and
I don't
see
think
where that's coming from.
I don't think that we even really, at least I didn't maybe, but I didn't really realize that was happening with us until sort of after the fact. Like I'd see it, and people would mention several times, you know, afterwards, and just be like, I don't know what it is. There's just some kind of energy that you guys have that's when you're together, it's just this like power energy that comes out. And it was something that I think is I didn't really see it. You probably did, but I didn't really see it until after I started getting feedback from others that were actually.
Plus, there's 2 times when we were coming back from a team like get together, twice this happened, and we got pulled over by the police because I hate waiting at stoplights. So, so we got pulled over, and the guy. You know, and I just looked at her, I said, I got this. And I'm like, you got the and this guy takes our plates down and he comes back and he goes, you know, I don't usually do this. I'm not really sure why I'm doing this. Maybe it's your demeanor. I don't know. I can't, you know, he has such a bewildered look on his face.
Yeah,
like why am I doing this?
And we were like, I don't know why
I'm just going to let you off with a warning. LightStar looks at me, you know, and I've actually done that.
Well, we both did it because I remember I was like doing this little prayer thing, and then he was doing his thing. And so it was like, not that we were trying to force somebody or manipulate somebody, but it was just, we were just putting out this energy of like love and, you know, appreciation and all that. And it just sort of happened.
Like the Jedi, these are not the droids you're looking for.
Right. I got you.
It was the strangest thing for the policeman. I mean, he was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what it is. And we was like, he's in this like daze with his fog. He's like, I don't usually do this, but I'm just going to let you guys go.
Todd,
like, okay.
I remember years ago, my guitarist and myself, we were just coming back from a show in Mesa, Arizona. And at the time, I didn't have a license, but I was driving my friend home because he was blind drunk. And Mesa hated long hairs. I mean, the cops just, they got beat up a lot. And 6 cops pulled us over. And he's like, we're going to jail. That's it. And I'm like, no, we're good. And he goes, no, if we're going to jail, man, that's it. And I was like, and I was saying it out loud. 6 cops pulled us over. And the guy's like, and I said, look, I'm just trying to get my friend home. You know, but you don't have a license. I know, but I don't want my friend to get killed out there. So he's like, all right, well, you guys have a good night. And Mike's like, so every now and again, he always tells our friends, he goes, tell him about that voodoo mooba jooba that you did. And I'll never forget that. There were 6 cops that pulled us over and they all left. They're just like, you know, so I don't know if it's a Starborn thing. I don't know. Maybe some of your viewers have had other cool things like that happen to them, but I think they're markers in your life to remind you of who you are, and to remind you to be in the world, but not of the world. Yeah. And so the same with the dynamics that we've had. She's had things like that in her life that have just been these really groundbreaking things as well.
And I think I think really overall the best thing that any couple can do if they're in a relationship that's different than your normal relationship is to really accept, just have acceptance and respect for the other person as much as you possibly can. Because I think that when we're in that, sometimes we lose like touch with the respect that, when you're in the beginning of a relationship, sometimes there's all that respect. And then afterwards, that gets thrown out the window. Yeah. Well, we want to bring that back because that's the whole reason, for staying in that relationship it's gonna communication and respect for one another is going to be what's going to get you through all the tough times and the difficult times. You don't have those things. I mean, I'm sure other things.
You just answered the telepathy is in full force. You just answered the question I was going to pop.
Welcome to Sedona.
Boom.
There you go. Yeah. I have talked to a lot of couples on this show and met quite a few couples, and even with our own experience, what you're talking about in terms of the illumination or the energetic field that these couples produce, it does draw a lot of attention in a lot of different ways. But there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So before we get out of here, I want to make sure that, and we should get together again. We will, if you guys are open to it.
I don't know.
And but I want to make sure that people know what you do, what you're doing individually and together, how they can find you. If you've got any events coming up or anything coming up you want to talk about, and certainly provide us that information so people can get to know you better and find your websites and your pages. But also, if there's anything you guys want to do individually and or together to conclude the show after that, such as a blessing, light language, activation, whatever you guys want to come up with, the floor is yours.
Well, since I guess we can say where we're from, and then since I'm sort of dressed elven and he wants to do elven, so we'll do a little elven blessing. But you can find me at lightstarcreations.com. That's my main website where it just funnels out. I have a YouTube channel as well, and other places. But I'm there, and on my contact page, you'll see all the different social media sites and every place that I'm on as well. So I do all sorts of kind of stuff like, sessions and artwork and custom art and music and Oracle decks, all that stuff's there. And so let me say your
LightStarCreations.com.
LightStarCreations.com.
Yeah, I just put it up on all.
Mine is quite simply StandwithBear.com. And I do a lot of sessions myself. I've been an intuitive counselor for over 30 years. Life coach. Essentially what I do, Todd, is create Jedi and superheroes. That's what I do for a living. The flute guy is a great disguise, but that's the real deal, right?
Yeah, I got you.
And I do things like holographic DNA restructurization. I have my Galactic Awakening package, which is designed to level you up from beginning to end. Level 1 is ensign, level 2, lieutenant, level 3 is commander, and it literally is to design and formulate and bring you into the precipice of becoming that Jedi that you've always been. So love what I do. I've been a soldier for God from the beginning, one of his knights, and I love to be in service. This is what I do. Now, as far as any conferences coming up, because of the Rona right now, not so much. We don't get any of that coming up. I do have one in February, though, with Tola.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, another native event. It's going to be at Wupala again.
Oh, it's going to be at the same place the last one
was. But this time I'll be one of the speakers there as well as performing.
Right on.
So looking forward to that.
And
that's the last time I saw you. I saw you over there. I think the first day, and I went back the last day. I spoke at the last day, but I didn't see you there the last day. But
I think if we're still having that, then we also have the Cosmic Awakening Conference.
Yeah,
Sedona Cosmic Awakening. It got delayed last year, so it's in April. I think it's the end of April that weekend. So that's another event. We're both actually speakers at that separately, but we're both speaking there.
Right on.
Still have that. So
who puts that one on? Is that Suzanne Ross?
That's Thunderbeat and Rion.
Oh, Thunderbeat. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I think
Rion.
Rion and
It's
Rion. Yeah.
Mazone,
whoever,
Rion Duron with we're all with.
Yeah, I know Rion. I went over to his house last
time.
They
kind of do a collaborative event there.
He's a very cool dude.
And if they have the same people that were supposed to be at the original event, Randy Kramer will be the main speaker.
Yeah, so that's where you can find us.
Right on.
So yeah, let's do our elven.
We're gonna do an elven blessing for you guys. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. You want to start?
You might.
Okay. Milia lali salalandi halaleshta varantale kaleleta salalalendira halalalenshia karamantalme lisialanara galilei sura aletu almaletes tira arananadia lalai kurandaralme sir adalezinde oro ulakle Paralalende ala shali sururungarale zira tarale sunda vara ansora kalle alalende.
Mineria tarana su eri yentiar alish erinia tundu esa ariaka ambua ni eliara nasu irani. Tundere sara alenia noturish re taleaka asure male nun ser iria.
Wow. Well, folks, you've seen it here first in Soulogy. That's not only is that a divine conscious union, but it's a multi-dimensional, multi-elemental, multi-galactic, angelic divine essence couple. And I look forward to collaborating with you guys again. I look forward to hooking up with you, Morgan and I, next time we're back in Sedona. Had we known y'all were a duo, we would have sought you out. But
yeah, well, we're looking forward to that too, for sure. And thanks for having us on here. We're very really honored to be on here.
Honored to be a part of Soulogy, and send me that song because you're gonna be surprised when I do with it.
I'll do it. I'll send it to you, and I'll send it to you, and then that'll work.
Have a great holiday coming up too, everybody out there at the time this is there. So I appreciate that.
We're done.
I don't know if you got it on there.
Yeah, we're still here.
Disconnected on our end for a minute. All right, when I say that,
no, it's all good.
All right, alrighty.
Yeah. So we'll do it again.
Okay.
We'll reach out to you first part of the year, and you guys keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for your service to humanity, both of you.
Thank you as well. Give Morgan our best as well.
Honored.
Thanks so much.